My trip to the Kingfish County Bank reminded me of our next tale. It's about a couple of twins who had it real tough at home. Hold it, I almost forgot. We have to do a think back first. What are the names of the 3 folk we've read about so far? It's okay to look back at the stories if you need to. And what words of character do their names describe? Done? Okay, now we're ready. There are 2 sea folk in the 4th picture in Be an Attitude's Hall of Fame. Tis no Hui to Dewey and Me Tui to Dewey Wright are twin stingrays born in Samoa. They are known in the Hall of Champions as the To-Do Wright brothers. I first met the To-Do Wrights at the bank. I had a pocket full of squid, so I stopped to exchange them for a few clams. Have you ever tried to stuff a squid into a parking meter? Anyway, there I was, waiting in line, when the notorious Shark brothers charged through the front door with spear guns drawn. The leader, Hammerhead, shouted,
"This is a stick-up. The first fish who moves is sushi. Shovelnose, tell him what to do."
"Cram this case with clams."
Another shark instructed the turtle teller,
"And only the biggest ones. Plus, get the guard out of the way and watch for carp cars."
"Okay, out of the way, you. Hey, look out for—"
Just then, a shadowy phantom hammered Hammerhead with a terrible tail. From the other side of the room, a dark shape lunged at Buzzsaw and slammed him to the slab. Then a flashing flipper forced Shovelnose into the bank safe and bolted the door, nearly jailing him inside. It all happened so fast, the sharks didn't know what hit them. The To-Do Wright brothers had arrived. Tis no Hui and Me Tui were officers on the KISS force. That is, the Kingfish's Internal Special Strike Force. Together, they had pretty much eliminated the country's criminal population.
Well, it looks like we've done it again.
You know, Tisno, I never did trust those sharks. I'm happy to see them in the rice paddy wagon headed for the penitentiary.
They'll make great jailbait.
The sharks would soon be sharing a cell with the scum-suckers who had been convicted of sucking frosting from between the layers of cakes. Birthday parties were pretty flat around these parts until the To-Do Wrights put an end to their scummy capers. The beloved brothers had also put an end to the Hell's Angelfish's hassling of the halibut and the haddocks. The angelfish are now up the river with the other rotten fish, including Barry, Terry, and Jerry Cuda, who used to frighten fish folk on 4th Street. The To-Do Right twins are known for coming down hard on critters who refuse to do right. But it wasn't always that way. When they were your age, the To-Do Rights could have been called the To-Do Wrongs, because they didn't know right from wrong. Life was very confusing and full of double messages for the young stingrays.
Tisno, do you remember how Dad used to yell at us?
Me would later say.
Sure, he used to scream, "Shut up, don't yell in the house."
Then he would tell us to go to the store and steal a pack of seaweeds for him. But if we got caught, he'd whip us good.
And when I'd cuss, Dad would smack me and say, "Don't use that kind of language in this house." And he'd use the same words he told me not to say. Then at parties, he would coax us into saying the naughty words so all the older fish would laugh.
Me said,
I remember when we got caught sneaking a peek at Dad's mermaid magazine, but Dad didn't yell. Instead, he smiled with a gleam in his eye and said, "Aren't you a little young to be looking at that?" Then he left it in plain sight where we could see it.
It was all so confusing.
Tisno agreed.
Life wasn't always easy for us, was it?
Remember how the other fish at school would stand back and give us plenty of room to swim by because of our stingers?
Yeah, we learned early that nobody wanted a touch from our terrible tails. Dad used his on us often enough.
After the Wright brothers went to school in the mornings, their dad sold drugs to seedy sea fish. At night, after they went to bed, he'd steal stereos and sell them in the canals. They had a bad dude fish for a dad. And their mom? She used the drugs Dad kept around the house. She would disappear for hours, leaving the young brothers to fend for themselves. The right home was all wrong. Good thing for the twins that Mary and Manta Ray lived next door.
They were always so nice to us.
Tisno remembered.
When it was cold, Mary Ray would have us in for hot urchin soup. And she made treats like chocolate slug cookies, smooshed snail snacks, and frosted kelp cakes.
The Rays really loved us.
Me agreed.
And they showed it in so many ways. They were the best.
Remember when the police knocked down our front door, Me? They burst into our cave and Sergeant Sailfish yelled, "They're in the bedroom!" When they took Mom and Dad away in fin cuffs, I was so scared.
I was scared too, Tisno. And when they took us downtown to the police station, I was afraid they were going to make us live there.
Yeah, I remember we just hugged each other and trembled. That was a really hard time.
I think the fish maker for Mary and Manta Ray.
Me exclaimed.
I remember them flapping down the hall of the police station. Without saying a word, they scooped us up, hugged us hard, and took us home with them. I was so glad to see somebody we knew. We didn't know until later that they had permission for us to live with them. Tisno, do you remember how different it was living with the Rays?
Are you kidding? I had to quit cussing because they didn't allow that kind of language. But they didn't yell at us. They were firm, real firm. And yet they were gentle.
Me said.
I had to quit smoking and chewing seaweed.
And I couldn't sneak sips of Suds Light.
Tisno agreed.
There wasn't any to sip.
And we both had to learn to control our terrible tails. It wasn't easy, but we did it.
Old Willikers needs to stop the story for a moment and say something to you. I hope you don't mind. Everybody has something that can hurt a lot more than a stingray's tail. What do you think it is? A tongue and the words it speaks. Did you know that words can hurt us in a very deep and lasting way? And just like Tisno and me had to learn not to hurt others with their tails, we have to learn not to hurt others with our tongues. Words can do more damage than sticks and stones. Bones heal, but some hurts don't. Okay, now back to the boys, who are still reminiscing about the Rays.
It was different, Me, not having any naughty books around. But the Rays had some good books, one in particular.
Yeah, the Fishmaker's Living Sea Scrolls. The Rays read it a lot, and they always read with us at mealtimes and before bed. One night, I asked Mary Ray why we read from the scrolls. I'll never forget what she said.
Why don't we let you play in the traffic? Is it to spoil your fun?
Tisno, do you remember your answer?
Sure. I said, it's so we won't get hurt. And she said,
That's why we read the Living Sea Scrolls. Doing right helps us not to get hurt, and the scrolls tell us how to do right.
The Rays helped us so much. They were the best. They always behaved the way they wanted us to behave. We didn't get any double messages in their house.
You see, the boys were not bad. They had just learned to do bad things. But thanks to the Rays and the power in the Living Sea Scrolls, the twins were able to break their bad habits and learn to do right. The fishmaker was very pleased. Tisno hui to doey and me tui to doey right got so good at doing good things that Fish University coined a phrase and put it in their dictionary. To do right. To doey right words. And guess who got the Uncle Ernie Award? No fish ever deserved it more than Mary and Manta Ray. They took two dudes in a bad situation and helped them become real good guys. What three words are named after the Stingray brothers? The brothers learned to control their terrible tails. What do you have to learn to control that can hurt other people? Fish folk turn to the Living Sea Scrolls to learn about what's right. Where should you turn to learn what's right? Are there any confusing double messages in your home? If so, can you talk about them with an adult there? Have you ever used bad words or said mean things to hurt other people? Tell God that you are sorry for the bad stuff or hurtful words you've said. Pray and ask Him to help you control your tongue and do what's right. Is there anyone you need to tell, I'm sorry for what I said? Be sure to tell them next time you see them. And when you pray, don't forget to thank God for both loving and forgiving you. By now, you've probably guessed, He's the real fishmaker in our stories, and the Bible is His book. It's been a great day. I'll talk to you in our next story. Oh, Willikers is out of here.